Michael Jackson was the king of pop, a musical genius who broke every record, shattered every boundary, and changed the world with his art. But his life was also marked by intense scrutiny, tabloid sensationalism, and controversies that overshadowed his incredible achievements. From shocking accusations to bizarre headlines, Michael Jackson's story is one of unparalleled talent colliding with relentless public judgment. Some of these controversies were rooted in truth, some were exaggerated by the media, and some remain hotly debated to this day. Today, we're examining 8 of the most significant controversial moments in Michael Jackson's life and career. This isn't about taking sides or making judgments. It's about understanding the facts, the context, and the impact these moments had on one of the most famous people who ever lived. Let's dive in. Controversy 1. The 1993 allegation. In 1993, at the height of his Dangerous World Tour, Michael Jackson faced the first major accusation that would forever change his life. A 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler and his father Evan Chandler accused Jackson of inappropriate behavior. The story began innocently enough. Jackson's car broke down, he called a rental company, and the owner's wife rushed over with her son Jordan, who was a huge fan. A friendship developed, and Jackson began spending time with the family, inviting them to Neverland Ranch and on trips around the world. But in August 1993, Jordan's father went to authorities with serious allegations. The Los Angeles Police Department launched a full investigation, searching Neverland Ranch and Jackson's properties. No physical evidence was found. The media frenzy was immediate and brutal. Jackson was performing in Bangkok when the news broke, and he released a statement denying everything, calling the accusations lies driven by financial extortion. In January 1994, Jackson and the Chandler family reached a settlement reportedly worth $23 million. Jackson was never charged criminally, as the case was dropped due to lack of evidence and the accuser's refusal to testify. The settlement allowed Jackson to avoid a lengthy trial, but it also left questions unanswered in the public's mind. For many, the payment suggested guilt. For others, it was simply a way to end a nightmare and move forward. This controversy marked the beginning of a permanent shadow over Jackson's legacy, and the damage to his reputation was irreversible. Controversy 2. The changing skin color. One of the most visible and misunderstood controversies surrounding Michael Jackson was the dramatic change in his skin color. Throughout the 1980s, Jackson's complexion became noticeably lighter, sparking accusations that he was bleaching his skin to appear white and rejecting his black heritage. The rumors were relentless, and the speculation hurt him deeply. Critics accused him of trying to erase his identity, and the black community felt betrayed by what they saw as self-hatred. But the truth was far more complicated. In a groundbreaking 1993 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Jackson publicly revealed for the first time that he suffered from vitiligo, a genetic skin condition that causes patches of skin to lose pigmentation. He explained that he was using makeup to even out the discoloration, not to change his race. Many people didn't believe him at the time, dismissing it as an excuse. However, after his death in 2009, his autopsy confirmed that Jackson did indeed have vitiligo. The report noted reduced melanocytes in his skin and found tubes of Benekin, a prescription cream used to depigment remaining skin when vitiligo becomes too widespread to cover with makeup. Jackson also suffered from lupus, an autoimmune disease that can cause further skin damage. Together, these conditions caused his appearance to change drastically, and he faced intense public scrutiny and judgment for something he couldn't control. The controversy over his skin color became one of the most painful aspects of his life, and he addressed it multiple times, saying, "It is something I cannot help." Despite the facts, the rumors persisted, and Jackson was forced to defend his identity for the rest of his life. Controversy 3. Plastic surgery obsession. Michael Jackson's changing face became one of the most talked about topics in entertainment history. Over the years, his nose became thinner, his chin developed a cleft, and his entire facial structure seemed to transform. The media accused him of being addicted to plastic surgery, and plastic surgeons who never treated him speculated publicly about the extent of his procedures. The transformation was so dramatic that many people struggled to recognize the man who had once been the young, vibrant lead singer of the Jackson 5. Jackson himself admitted to having 2 rhinoplasty surgeries on his nose in his 1988 autobiography Moonwalk. He said the first was after he broke his nose, and the second was to help with his breathing and vocal performance. However, evidence suggests there were far more procedures than he publicly acknowledged. His nose became so thin and sculpted over time that some doctors believed it had been reconstructed multiple times. He also appeared to have work done on his chin, cheekbones, lips, and eyes. What many people don't know is that much of Jackson's nose surgery was actually reconstructive, not cosmetic. His lupus condition caused the tissue in his nose to deteriorate, and doctors had to rebuild it multiple times to address the damage. Dr. Richard Strick, who examined Jackson's medical records during the 1993 case, confirmed that the surgeries were largely reconstructive attempts to repair lupus-related damage and improve his breathing. Jackson's dermatologist, Dr. Arnold Klein, also stated that the surgeries were medically necessary due to complications from his skin condition. Despite these medical explanations, the public perception was that Jackson was obsessed with altering his appearance, possibly due to insecurity or a desire to look more Caucasian. The excessive surgeries became a symbol of his struggles with identity, fame, and self-image, and they remain one of the most debated aspects of his life. Controversy 4. The 2003-2005 trial. In 2003, Michael Jackson faced his darkest hour. A documentary called Living with Michael Jackson, filmed by British journalist Martin Bashir, aired on television and reignited the nightmare from 1993. In the documentary, Jackson was shown holding hands with a young cancer survivor named Gavin Arvizo and discussing how he allowed children to sleep in his bedroom. Jackson insisted it was innocent and that he often slept on the floor while kids took the bed, but the footage was deeply troubling to viewers. Shortly after the documentary aired, Gavin's mother came forward with allegations that Jackson had behaved inappropriately with her son. In November 2003, police raided Neverland Ranch, and Jackson was arrested on multiple charges, including several counts related to inappropriate conduct with a minor and conspiracy. The trial began in January 2005 and became a media circus. Jackson arrived late to court, appeared in pajamas one day, and seemed increasingly frail and disoriented as the case dragged on. The prosecution's case was built around Gavin's testimony and his mother's claims that Jackson had held the family hostage at Neverland. However, major problems emerged. The timeline of the alleged incidents didn't make sense. The accusations claimed everything happened after the documentary aired, when the entire world was watching Jackson. The mother's testimony was described by the New York Times as rambling and combative, and jurors found her to be unreliable. Other witnesses contradicted key parts of the story, and no physical evidence was presented. On June 13, 2005, after deliberating for 32 hours over 7 days, the jury returned a verdict, not guilty on all counts. Jurors later stated that they found the prosecution's case weak and the family's story full of inconsistencies. One juror even called the mother a scam artist. Jackson was acquitted, but the trial had taken an enormous toll on his health, finances, and reputation. He left the United States shortly after and would never fully recover from the ordeal. Controversy 5. The Wacko Jacko persona. By the mid-1980s, Michael Jackson had become synonymous with bizarre behavior and eccentric lifestyle choices. The British tabloid The Sun coined the nickname Wacko Jacko in 1986, a term Jackson deeply despised. The media eagerly reported every strange rumor, whether true or not, and the public couldn't get enough of the spectacle. Some of the stories were exaggerated or completely false, but others were rooted in reality, and together they painted a picture of a man who seemed increasingly detached from the real world. One of the most famous rumors was that Jackson slept in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber to slow down aging. Photos of him lying in a chamber were released to the press, but Jackson later admitted it was a publicity stunt to generate mystery. Another widely reported story was that he tried to buy the skeleton of Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man, for $1 million. While Jackson denied this, his spokesperson at the time confirmed he had expressed interest, fueling the narrative that he was obsessed with strange and morbid things. Then there was Neverland Ranch itself, a sprawling 2,700-acre estate, complete with a zoo, amusement park rides, a train, and a movie theater. Jackson filled it with exotic animals, including his famous pet chimpanzee Bubbles, who traveled with him and reportedly ate at the dinner table. To the outside world, Neverland looked like a fantasy land, but critics saw it as deeply troubling. Why would a grown man build a theme park and invite children to stay overnight? The ranch became a focal point of suspicion and controversy. Jackson's friendships with young boys also raised eyebrows. He was known to invite children and their families to Neverland for extended stays, and he spoke openly about sharing his bedroom with kids, insisting it was innocent and non-physical. To Jackson, it was about creating a safe, magical space for children who reminded him of the childhood he never had. To the public and the media, it was inappropriate and alarming. The Wacko Jacko persona, whether fair or not, became inseparable from Michael Jackson's image. Controversy. 6. The baby dangling incident. On November 19, 2002, Michael Jackson made one of the most shocking and dangerous mistakes of his life. While staying at the Adlon Hotel in Berlin, Germany, Jackson appeared on a fourth-floor balcony to greet a crowd of fans below. In his arms, he held his youngest son, Prince Michael II, also known as Blanket, who was only 9 months old. As the crowd cheered, Jackson leaned over the railing and dangled the baby over the edge, holding him with one arm while a blanket partially covered the child's face. The moment was captured on camera, and the images immediately sparked global outrage. People were horrified that Jackson would put his infant son in such a dangerous position. The baby's legs were flailing in the air, and if Jackson had lost his grip, the consequences would have been tragic. Child safety advocates, parents, and the media condemned Jackson's actions, calling them reckless and irresponsible. There were even calls for authorities to investigate whether Jackson was fit to care for his children. Jackson quickly issued an apology, calling it a terrible mistake, and saying he got caught up in the excitement of the moment. He explained that he wanted to show his son to the fans who had been calling out for him, but he admitted that his judgment was severely flawed. Despite his apology, the damage was done. The incident became one of the most iconic images of Jackson's increasingly erratic behavior and fueled concerns about his mental state and parenting abilities. It was yet another moment where Jackson's actions, however well-intentioned, were impossible to defend. Controversy 7. Accusations against Sony Music. In July 2002, Michael Jackson stood before a crowd in Harlem, New York, alongside civil rights activist Al Sharpton, and made a stunning accusation. He called Tommy Mottola, the chairman of Sony Music, a racist and a devil.
Jackson claimed that Mottola and Sony were exploiting black artists, stealing their music, and profiting off their work without giving them proper credit or compensation. He held up a poster that read, "Tommy Mottola is a devil," and the speech became international news. Jackson's frustration with Sony had been building for years. He felt that the label wasn't promoting his album Invincible properly and that they were sabotaging his career because he had become too difficult to control. He also believed that Sony was trying to gain control of his half of the Beatles' song catalogue, which was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Jackson's accusations of racism and exploitation resonated with some in the black community, who had long criticized the music industry for taking advantage of black artists. However, many people saw Jackson's outburst as paranoid and erratic. Critics pointed out that Jackson had signed lucrative deals with Sony and had made enormous amounts of money through the partnership. Some believed he was simply lashing out because his album underperformed and he was facing financial troubles. The controversy highlighted Jackson's increasingly strained relationship with the music industry and his growing sense of isolation and persecution. Whether his accusations were justified or not, the incident damaged his reputation further and reinforced the image of a man losing touch with reality. Controversy 8. Leaving Neverland. 10 years after Michael Jackson's death, a new controversy erupted that threatened to destroy his legacy forever. In 2019, HBO released a documentary called Leaving Neverland, directed by Dan Reed. The film featured two men, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, who had been close to Jackson as children and now claimed that he had engaged in inappropriate behavior with them for years. The documentary was graphic, emotional, and deeply disturbing, and it reignited the debate over Jackson's alleged misconduct. What made the documentary particularly shocking was that both Robson and Safechuck had previously defended Jackson under oath. Robson testified in Jackson's 2005 trial, adamantly stating that nothing inappropriate had ever happened. Safechuck had also publicly supported Jackson and called him a friend and mentor. But in Leaving Neverland, both men told a very different story, describing years of alleged manipulation and control. Their families also appeared in the film, corroborating their accounts and expressing regret for not recognizing what was happening at the time. The Jackson estate immediately denounced the documentary as a posthumous character assassination and sued HBO for breach of contract. They argued that Robson and Safechuck had both filed lawsuits against the estate seeking money, and that their claims had been dismissed in court due to lack of evidence. The estate also pointed out that the documentary was one-sided, presenting no counter-arguments or evidence in Jackson's defense. Fans rallied around Jackson, insisting he was innocent and that the accusers were lying for financial gain. The documentary divided public opinion. Some believed Robson and Safechuck, seeing their testimonies as credible and heartbreaking. Others saw it as a cash grab and an attempt to destroy a man who could no longer defend himself. Leaving Neverland brought all of Jackson's controversies back into the spotlight and forced the world to reckon with the complicated, painful legacy of the King of Pop. Michael Jackson's life was a paradox, a man of extraordinary talent and generosity, but also a deeply troubled and misunderstood figure. These 8 controversies shaped how the world saw him, often overshadowing the music, the artistry, and the humanitarian work that defined his career. Some of these moments were the result of media sensationalism, some were genuine mistakes, and some remain unresolved mysteries that we may never fully understand. What's undeniable is that Michael Jackson lived under a level of scrutiny that few people could ever imagine. From childhood, he was thrust into the spotlight and he never escaped it. The controversies, the accusations, the tabloid headlines, they all took a toll on him, and by the time he died in 2009, he was a shadow of the vibrant performer who had once captivated the world. His legacy is complicated, and it will continue to be debated for generations. So where do you stand? Do you believe Michael Jackson was a misunderstood genius, or do the controversies define his story? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video informative, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into music history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.